On the same sweltering Dallas day that later found him screaming at a crowd of gay revelers, I saw Larry Kramer offer water to a horse. That was at the start of the city's 2009 Pride Parade, in which Mr. Kramer, the honorary Grand Marshal, was drawn along the route in a flower-bedecked open carriage, looking like a blissed-out maharajah. But won't the horse be thirsty? He worried. Let's see if he'll drink something. The horse was confused, and so was I. Mr. Kramer, who died on Wednesday at 84, was far better known as an apostle of anger than a pussycat. In his many careers, activist, journalist, playwright, novelist, curmudgeon, he had served as a kind of reverse lightning rod, drawing out homophobia from American society to light up the sky with danger. But to really understand plays like The Normal Heart and The Destiny of Me, and novels like Faggots and The American People, you needed to know, or sense between the lines of their barely redacted ire, his other side. This was a man who, lonely and self-hating, tried to commit suicide as an undergraduate at Yale, who, obsessed but patient, waited decades to snag the man he loved, who, after alienating many of his friends and allies, cried and cajoled until most of them once again succumbed to his sweetness. To be on his list you had first to be in his doghouse. That combination of mush and belligerence made Mr. Kramer especially difficult to categorize as a playwright. The Normal Heart, first performed at the Public Theater in 1985, is a fairly accurate and nearly contemporaneous retelling of his own experience at the beginning of AIDS. It sets forth in plain scenes the story of how he helped create the service and advocacy organization Gay Men's Health Crisis, only to be kicked out when his tactics no longer seemed respectable. For its unblinking portrait of a city bureaucracy and a besieged community unable or unwilling to act, some decried it as a screed. For its story of human love and loss, the Kramer character marries his boyfriend as the boyfriend languishes on his deathbed, others dismissed it as sentimental. It was neither, or perhaps it was what happens when something is exceedingly both. Kramer hated attempts to dismiss his work as merely political, and yet he sniffed at the pretentiousness of those who would call it art. He wanted to erase the arbitrary line between agitprop and aesthetics, since neither of them alone addressed the apparently bottomless drives pushing him in opposite directions, toward engagement and denunciation. He was happy with the word reportage. Yet The Normal Heart, and I'd argue as well for The Destiny of Me and Faggots, is more art than he was willing to allow. That a play actually changed lives in real time, as the 1985 production did, can hardly be held against it. But the real test of The Normal Heart came when it made its Broadway debut a quarter of a century later.